chair now recognizes the Honorable Glenn Grothman for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I asked a couple questions about suicide before, and you know, when our veterans take their own life, I hope that's something we're all realize what a catastrophe it is and what we're doing. And I'm a little concerned maybe we're not getting the appropriate data we can. So I'm going to throw out some questions. Maybe you don't know the answers. We all should know the answers. It's a concern that we don't. But if we don't, Congressman Van Orden is going to have hearings later, and maybe you know the type of things I think Congress is looking for. When you do find suicides, you know percentage-wise how many have had contact with the VA beforehand?
Thank you for that question. I do not know that answer. What I will do is take back and interface with our VHA counterparts that would know that data, and I can provide it for you.
I guess that's the question is, do we have that data? Does somebody keep track of that?
I am sure that it is in VHA, yes, in the hospital side. Yeah.
Okay. Next question is, if someone does commit suicide, do we have data on whether or not they received treatment for depression, and do we have data as to whether that veteran was on any sort of medication?
Thank you for the question. I believe that data exists. I will make every attempt to get that for you.
I'll tell you the reason I'm asking the question. Sometimes, because of HIPAA requirements, we're told that information we would like to have is not available. And I don't even know whether you have the ability to get that information. If we, for example, find out that a veteran committed suicide, do we have the capability of knowing whether or not that person was on medication or not?
I'm unable to answer that question. I apologize. I really don't. I'm not in a position to be able to speak to that.
Okay. I guess what I'm getting to, if we're going to solve this problem, we have to know certain answers, right? We can't just throw money at the situation, because if you throw money at the situation, you don't solve the problem. And if the treatment they're receiving is ineffective or poor, we've got to know that. So we've got to know, what is done. Was this veteran flagged for potential problems? If after he dies, was he receiving counseling for depression within the VA? Was he receiving counseling for depression outside the VA? And don't you think those are things that we ought to know if we're going to be serious about solving this problem?
I don't disagree with you whatsoever, Congressman.
Okay. And either the other two folks up there have a comment?
I agree with Mr. Honeycutt that VHA does own typically the suicide portfolio. Under my purview, I'll just give you an example. Going back to Solid Start, it's an initiative. When we understand someone has risk factors for suicide, the Department of Defense tells us that we prioritize calling those veterans in that first year, that first transition year. We will make up to 21 calls. For those 3 times, we'll call 7 times to make sure we make that connection. We've connected with 90,000 people since Solid Start has launched, 90,000 at-risk veterans, to make sure that we connect them with all the resources we can to the crisis line, and to make sure that we offer them support.
I'll give you one more follow-up question on that.
Please.
Of course, they can ask for help through the VA, and I'm sure many people ask for help outside the VA. And I'm sure many people don't ask for any help at all. My guess, though I don't know, is because of HIPAA requirements, we may find it impossible to know whether or not people have received medication for problems or not, or if that medication is effective. Because there are a lot of people out there more skeptical of medication and think maybe it's even counterproductive. Do you think if you can't get the answers to these questions, that we should maybe put a hole in the HIPAA law to allow us to do research as to see how, when a veteran commits suicide, whether they were on antidepressants?
I'm sorry, I can't speak to that specific HIPAA topic.